Hey, what's going on, everyone? Cardboard.Capitan here, and it's been a minute. Earlier in this season, months of April, I was struggling with trying to find a proper deck for the month, but I stumbled upon Otters. Now, just a little housekeeping. I'm not doing any gameplay in this video just because I've noticed that the guys I've talked to, they don't really have time to sit through a bunch of the gameplay, so I'm trying to keep this short and simple, so I'm going to do a little deck explanation and then call it there. But, do leave a comment if you enjoy gameplay, stuff like that, so the future videos can improve. With that said, Otters really took off after this card, Cori Steelcutter, came around with Tarkir, and Cori Steelcutter's been invading most of the formats. I know it's been showing up in Standard, it's been showing up in some of the older formats, because it's a real easy way of putting power down on the board each turn just by playing multiple spells a turn. Now, Otters, because of their prowess, they want to play multiple spells per turn, especially when the enemy cannot retaliate that turn. So this is my version. I've seen many players take it to top 250, so I wouldn't call it tier 1 because of certain reasons I'll cover later, but it's a very good climbing deck because the games are fast just because of how this deck plays out. So I want to start with some Otters. You got Enduring Friendship. You got Stormcatch Mentor. You've got Storm Chaser's Talent. And I'm seeing different versions. This is my version. I'm trying out a Fear of Missing Out. Now, the problem with Otters is that since Prowess only works temporarily, they don't have any permanent power. So I've seen some people try to counter it with Prof's Eidetic Memory as a way of putting +1/+1 counters on the Eyes. So I'm trying it out, and Eidetic Memory works really well with Fear of Missing Out once that Delirium kicks in. Since adding the +1/+1 counters happen at the beginning of combat, so you can have 2 combat steps with a Delirium Fear of Missing Out. The only downside is that you would need multiple card types to trigger that Delirium, and since you have creatures, you have enchantments, you have instants, I felt like I needed some sorceries. Now, I want to try this Unending Whisper. The main reason is it's a 1-mana sorcery. So 1, it's cheap and effective for triggering Prowess. And for 2, it's a sorcery for triggering Fear of Missing Out. But I can see swapping that out with Enter the Enigma as a way of giving a creature unblockable. You can also run the chorus cards with Otters. Hymn to the Ages, Ribald Shanty. They're broken. I mean, if you've played in Standard, I'm sure you've seen them in action. This town ain't big enough. Storm Chaser's Talent, classic combo. But I do feel that the deck needs some sort of bounce, because there are some cards that will ruin this deck's day. Chainsaw works well with this. This town ain't big enough, but it's also some removal that you can use. Cori Steelcutter, I went over it already. Lands, nothing too fancy. I would run 4 River Pyre Verge, but I only have 2. Now, I've seen some versions run green because there's a certain Otter with a adventure spell that needs green, but I feel that green would slow down the deck too much. I tried it one time because there's a blue-green spell, Auroral Procession, from Tarkir, that lets you return any card from your graveyard to your hand, and that was pretty beautiful with these chorus cards, but felt that it slowed the deck down too much, and I believe that the strength of the Otter's deck is just the sheer speed that it can end the game. As far as the sideboard goes, an offer you can't refuse. That was in another deck I saw. Just as a counter spell, enter the Enigma. I'm seriously considering just mainboarding it over Unending Whisper. I'll have to play it some more. Vacuum, Graveyard Hate, Plunderer's Prize. I've seen a version with this main board. Not too sure if it has space right now in my version, but this prize is kind of a redundant version of Vacuum. And it can also pull out a Cutter if need be, since Vacuum is 1, Cutter is 2. Extra TTABE. Torch the Tower, it's for the mirror match and also as removal for other decks. And finally, Torpor Orb. This is mainly for the Nectamon, with their doll makers and the pixies and so on, to counter that. However, let me go to the this. Okay, that's not right. Yeah, this. Even though you're running Torpor Orb, the reason I don't like it is that it doesn't win you the game. So, what I mean by that, it'll slow down or stop Nectamon decks temporarily, but it's going to cost you a round of tempo. And Nectamon decks can likely run Exercise anyway, just as a way of removing that enchantment Otter. So, if they run Exercise out of their sideboard, they can also remove your Torpor Orb, and you just slowed yourself down and gave them an extra turn to build up their game plan. So I feel that Nectamon decks, the Orzhov version, it favors them over you. Ramp decks, I'm also seeing a lot of them. Really, it depends on how fast you can come out swinging. You do have options such as enter the Enigma to swing through, but a lot of their early turns are ramping up through Cornucopia and Overlord as an enchantment. And once that turn 4 or 5 comes down, that's when they start hitting Day of Judgment, Fumigate. So do as much damage as you can early on. Ideally, turn 1, Storm Chaser's Talent. Turn 2, maybe a Friendship or a Mentor. Those are the 2 decks that I've consistently seen. I know there's the Mirror Match. You have Torch the Tower for the Mirror Match. Shanty, Chainsaw. But basically, it's a matter of who can swing faster and who can remove threats faster. So, and since I don't think any decks, they might run a Braid. I haven't seen any other decks with a Braid, but a Braid's another threat that's been popping up due to the Steel Cutter. Also, just plain green ramp can be a problem, but I haven't seen that too much. Because Fountain Port Charmer, surprisingly, is a pain, because early on, Shanty can't deal with Charmer unless he gets some intensity, and it blocks a lot of these creatures, so look out for that. However, it's a good just climb the ladder deck because it's fast, and when you win, you win. When you lose, you lose. However, a lot of meta decks run answers, so like Authority of Consuls that shuts down Cori Blade Prefast. High Noon I've seen one time. If you play only one spell per turn, you can't get massive Prowess stacks. You can't get Monk tokens from your Cori Blade, so that's unfortunate. So I'd place Otters as a tier 2 deck. I wouldn't play it in the qualifier play-in just because I feel there are better options, but if you're just trying to climb 250, if you want to add to your rotation just to add some variety to what you play while keeping a high rank, by all means go for it. So with that said, if you enjoyed the video, follow me on X under the username Cardboard.Capitan, Moxfield, where you can find this deck and other decks, Cardboard.Capitan. Like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube thing. I will see you all next time.